The silence inside the grand chamber of the galactic concordance was heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. The room was a perfect sphere made of a material that looked like white pearl. It floated in the void of space, far away from any sun. Hundreds of different alien species sat in floating seats. They were tall, short, slim, and fat, but they all had one thing in common. They all looked at the small group of humans in the center of the room with cold eyes. Arthur sat in his chair. He felt small. He was the captain of the ISS Aegis, the first human ship allowed to travel this far into the galaxy. Next to him sat Diana, his best tactical officer. She was looking at her screen, her fingers moving quickly. She was nervous. Arthur could see it in the way her jaw was tight. "We should not be here," Diana whispered, keeping her voice low so only the microphones in their suits would pick it up. "Look at them, Arthur. They are not listening." "Just keep your eyes open," Arthur replied softly. At the front of the room, standing on a high platform made of blue light, was High Kaler. Kaler was an elder. His skin was pale gray, and his head was large and hairless. He wore robes of silver that seemed to shine without any light source. Kaler was the speaker for the oldest races in the galaxy. They were called the Elders. They had ruled the stars for 1,000,000 years. They thought they knew everything. Kaler raised a long, thin hand. The room went silent. "The council has reached a decision," Kaler said. His voice was not loud, but it echoed in the minds of everyone in the room. "We have watched the world called Earth for many of your years. We have watched your people, the humans. We have seen your history." Arthur gripped the armrests of his chair. He knew what was coming. The elders had been criticizing Earth for months. They did not like humans. They thought humans were too wild. "You are a violent species," Kaler continued, pointing a finger at the human delegation. "You fight wars over land. You fight wars over ideas. You kill your own kind. In the galactic concordance, we have peace. We have moved past such primitive things. But you embrace chaos." Arthur stood up. The laws of the council said he could speak. He walked to the center of the circle. He looked up at the tall alien. "Respected High Kaler," Arthur said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We do not embrace chaos. We fight for survival. Yes, we have had wars. But we also built art, music, and science from the ashes of those wars. Our history is hard, but it made us strong. We ask for the right to govern ourselves. We do not want to be protected. We want to be partners." A ripple of laughter went through the alien seats. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh someone makes when a child says something silly. Kaler looked down at Arthur. "Partners, you are like a dangerous child holding a weapon. You are not ready for the stars. Your technology is clumsy, your ships are loud and dirty. You are a mistake of evolution." The insults hurt, but Arthur did not show it. He stood tall. "We have traveled far. We have earned our place." "You have earned a warning," Kaler said sharply. The blue light around him turned a dark red. "The concordance cannot allow a violent species to spread. If you keep your weapons, you will bring war to the galaxy. Therefore, the council has voted. The human soul system will be placed under Guardian control." A gasp went through the few humans in the room. Guardian control meant slavery. It meant the alien fleets would surround Earth and take away all human weapons. Humans would be like pets, unable to leave their planet. "No," Arthur said firmly. "We will not accept that." "It is not a request," Kaler said. You have 48 hours. One of your days. You must destroy your military ships and surrender your command codes to us. If you do not, the pacification fleet will enter your system. They will target your military bases. Then, they will target your cities until you agree. The threat was clear. Surrender, or die. Arthur looked at Diana. She stood up and joined him. You cannot do this, she said to Kaler. There are billions of people on Earth. If you fire on cities, millions will die. The elders claim to be peaceful. Is this your peace to kill those who refuse to bow? Peace requires order, Kaler said, not looking at her. Sometimes, a branch must be cut to save the tree. If you do not surrender, the destruction is your own fault. You are too stubborn to see that we are helping you. Arthur looked around the room. He saw hundreds of alien faces. Some looked bored. Some looked angry. None of them looked sympathetic. They all thought the same thing. They thought humans were less than them. They thought humans would be easy to break. We will see, Arthur said. Do not mistake our desire for peace for weakness. Kaler made a sound of dismissal. Enough. Return to your ship, Captain Arthur. Return to your planet and tell your leaders what is coming. The fleet is already moving. They are waiting at the edge of your space. This is the last time you will speak to the Council as a free race. When we meet again, you will be subjects. Arthur wanted to say more. He wanted to scream at them. But he knew it would not help. He turned his back on the High Elder. He nodded to Diana. Together, they walked out of the Grand Chamber. The heavy door slid shut behind them, cutting off the stairs of the galactic elite. The walk back to the shuttle was quiet. The corridors of the station were empty except for the two of them. Their footsteps clanged on the metal floor. They are going to do it, Diana said. Her voice was shaking with anger. They are really going to bomb Earth if we don't give up. Yes, Arthur said. They think we are scared. They think we will disarm to save ourselves. What are we going to do? Diana asked. Our fleet is small. Their ships, I saw the data on their pacification fleet. They have thousands of ships. We have less than 100. Arthur stopped walking. He looked out of a viewport. The stars were bright and cold. He thought about Earth. He thought about the cities, the oceans, and the people. He thought about human history. Humans had fought nature. Humans had fought diseases. Humans had fought each other. And every time, when things looked impossible, humans found a way to adapt. We are not going to surrender, Arthur said. His voice was hard, like iron. But we can't win a fight, Diana said. Math is math, Arthur. We are outnumbered. Arthur turned to look at her. A small, dangerous smile appeared on his face. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator who was cornered but dangerous. We don't fight their way, Diana, Arthur said. They play games of logic and order. They think war is about rules and formations. That is not how humans fight. We fight dirty. We fight with everything we have. We fight until there is nothing left. But the fleet, the Earth is in danger. We contact Commander Vance, Arthur said. We tell him the ultimatum is a lie. They were never going to negotiate. They want to break us. Vance will know what to do. He has a plan for this. I know he does. They reached the shuttle. The pilot, a young man named David, was waiting for them. He looked pale. Did they listen? David asked. No, Arthur said, sitting in the passenger seat. They didn't. Take us up, David. We need to get back to the Aegis. The shuttle lifted off. As they flew away from the station, Arthur looked back at the huge white sphere of the council. It looked so peaceful from the outside. But inside, it was rotting with arrogance. Highcaller thinks he has already won, Arthur said to Diana, watching the station get smaller. He thinks he gave us a choice. He thinks we will choose life over pride. He thinks we are soft. He will be surprised, Diana said, watching the radar screen. He will be more than surprised, Arthur said, looking out into the dark void of space. He made a mistake. He looked at humanity and saw a primitive tribe. He didn't see the fire in our blood. He warned us not to challenge the galaxy. But he forgot to ask himself what happens when the galaxy challenges humanity. The shuttle docked with the ISS Aegis. The airlock hissed open, and the smell of recycled air hit them. It smelled like home. The crew on the bridge was waiting. They all looked at the captain. They saw the look on his face and knew the news was bad. Red alert, Arthur said as he walked onto the bridge. All hands to battle stations. We are going home, but we are not going there to surrender. The lights on the bridge dimmed and turned red. The crew moved fast. They were scared, but they were ready. We are sending a message to Commander Vance, Diana said, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Encryption code Black Star. Arthur sat in the captain's chair. He looked at the main screen. The stars stretched out before them, leading back to Earth. Engage the warp drive, Arthur ordered. Let's show the elders that you should never poke a sleeping bear. The ship hummed with power. The stars blurred into lines of light. They were heading home to war. The elders had their ships and their millions of years of history. But they had never fought a species that had nothing left to lose. They had never fought humanity. The mistake was made, and now the price would be paid in blood. Arthur closed his eyes for a second, saying a silent promise to the people of Earth. He would not let them fall. He would make the stars burn before he let the elders take his home. The silence of space was broken only by the low hum of the warp drive as the ISS Aegis raced toward home. The blue light of the warp tunnel flashed against the metal walls of the bridge. Arthur stood near the main viewing screen, watching the stars stretch into infinite lines. His hands were clasped behind his back, hiding the fact that his knuckles were white from gripping his own wrist. It is coming up, the helmsman said. His voice was tense. Dropping out of warp in 3, 2, 1. The blue light snapped off, replaced instantly by the blackness of normal space and the bright, distant glow of the sun. Earth was there, a blue and white marble hanging in the dark. But around it, things had changed. Arthur's breath caught in his throat. Floating between the Earth and its moon was a wall of metal. Hundreds of alien ships formed a blockade. They were beautiful in a terrifying way, smooth and silver like liquid mercury, arranged in perfect, unmoving geometric patterns. They did not look like warships, they looked like jewelry, cold and hard. They are huge, Diana whispered beside him. Our sensors are reading energy signatures off the charts. That is the welcoming committee, Arthur said grimly. They expect us to surrender. A signal began to flash on the communication console. It was on all channels, a broadcast meant for every human ship and listening post on the planet. Attention, people of Earth, a smooth, synthetic voice said. It was not Highcaller, but a machine translating his will. The time has expired. The pacification fleet is in position. Disarmament must begin immediately. Deactivate your military grids. Prepare for occupation. Resistance is not logical. It is suicide. On the bridge of the Aegis, the crew looked to their captain. They were young men and women. Some were sweating. Some were pale. But no one moved to leave their station. They were waiting for an order. "Hail them," Arthur said. "Channel open, Captain," the communications officer replied. "This is Captain Arthur of the ISS Aegis," Arthur said, his voice echoing clearly through the ship and out into the void. "Tell Highcaller that his fleet is blocking my driveway. Tell him to move." The bridge was silent for a moment. Then, a voice came back, laced with disbelief. "Captain, you are outnumbered 100 to 1. Your weapons are primitive. Do you invite destruction?" "We invite you to try," Arthur said. "But be warned. If you fire on Earth, you will find that humanity bites back." He cut the connection. "Take us to the moon," Arthur ordered. "We need to see Commander Vance. We are not fighting this battle alone." The Aegis turned, its engines flaring bright orange against the darkness, and sped toward the dark side of the moon. Hidden in a large crater was the lunar command base. It was a rough, ugly structure of concrete and steel, built quickly and with function, not beauty, in mind. It looked like a scar on the gray landscape of the moon. Arthur and Diana took a shuttle down to the base. The airlocks hissed open, and they were met by a squad of Marines holding heavy magnetic rifles. They didn't need to salute, they just nodded and led the way to the war room. The war room was a dimly lit cavern filled with monitors and digital maps. In the center stood Commander Vance. He was an older man with a face like a crumpled map, marked by old wars and years of stress. He was smoking a real cigar, the smoke drifting up into the ventilation system. He didn't look surprised to see them. "You made it back, Arthur," Vance said, his voice rough like gravel. "Did you bring good news from the fancy aliens?" "They gave us 48 hours to surrender," Arthur said. "That time is up." Vance nodded slowly. "I know. I'm watching them right now." He pointed a thick finger at a large screen. "Look at them. Perfect formation. Perfect spacing. They rely on their shielding and their precision. They think war is a chess game. They move their pieces, and they expect us to move ours in response. They think we will surrender to save our cities." "Most of the Planetary Council wants to surrender," Diana said quietly. "They are debating it right now on the news." Vance laughed. It was a short, dry sound. "Let them debate. It keeps the enemy distracted. While the politicians talk, the soldiers prepare." "What is the plan?" Commander Arthur asked. "Our fleet is small. Even with every ship we have, we cannot break that blockade with standard weapons." Vance walked over to a table and picked up a data pad. He tossed it to Arthur. "We are not going to fight them with their rules. That is how you lose. We are going to fight them with ours." Arthur looked at the screen. It showed blueprints for weapons he had never seen before. "What is this?" "Humanity has been busy," Vance said. "Since we first met the elders, our scientists have been doing more than just copying their technology. We have been trying to figure out how to break it. We found a weakness." He walked to a map of the alien formation. "Their ships use gravity drives and energy shields that oscillate at a specific frequency. It keeps them safe from energy weapons. It even helps them deflect physical objects, but the shields have a limit. If you hit them with something massive enough, moving fast enough, and with an irregular spin, the shields cannot compensate. Kinetic bombardment, Diana said, understanding quickly. Rocks. Not just rocks, Vance corrected. Railguns. We turned the defense platforms on the moon into giant cannons. We also fitted our ships with warp drive missiles. Arthur's eyes widened. Warp missiles, that's impossible. The drive is too big. We made them small, Vance said. And we made them unstable. We don't need them to go far. We just need them to warp right next to an enemy ship and explode. The shock wave of a collapsing warp bubble will tear their precious silver hulls apart like paper. Arthur looked at the old commander. You planned for this. You planned to go to war with the Concordance. I planned for the day someone tried to take our freedom, Vance said sternly. The elders think we are children. They think we are dangerous because we are violent. But they forget the most important thing about humans. We are the best at killing things that are bigger than us. We killed the mammoths with sticks. We killed tigers with stones. Now, we will kill them with their own physics turned against them. A red light began to flash on the main console. A siren wailed, low and mournful. They are moving, an officer shouted from the communications desk. The alien fleet is firing warning shots across the Earth's poles. They are demanding an immediate response from the government. Vance took a long drag of his cigar and crushed it out in an ashtray. His eyes were hard. They just made the first mistake. They fired on our sky. He looked at Arthur and Diana. Go back to your ship, Arthur. You have the best hull in the fleet. I need you to lead the strike wing. Your job is not to destroy the biggest ships. Your job is to create chaos. Fly close. Fly erratic. Make them panic. While they are looking at you, we will fire the big guns from the moon. Arthur nodded. He felt a strange calm settle over him. The fear was still there, but it was pushed aside by a surge of adrenaline. This was what humans did. We will make them remember us, Arthur said. Go, Vance said. Initiate Protocol Wild Hunt. Tell the boys and girls to say their prayers, because tonight, we send a message to the stars. Arthur and Diana ran back to the shuttle. As they strapped in, the comms channel crackled to life. It was not a voice, but a code. Protocol Wild Hunt confirmed, a machine voice said. All units, engage. The shuttle blasted off the surface of the moon. As they approached the Aegis, Arthur could see the rest of the human fleet gathering. They were not the beautiful silver ships of the elders. They were jagged, blocky, and ugly. They were painted black and gray. They looked like knives in the dark. Arthur ran onto the bridge of his ship. Report. He shouted, all human ships are ready, Captain, Diana said, her fingers moving across her tactical board. The lunar railguns are charged. The warp missiles are locked. Enemy status. They are holding position, Diana said. They are confused. They expected a surrender signal, not a mobilization. Arthur sat in his chair. He looked at the screen where the alien fleet waited, serene and arrogant. They thought they were the masters of the universe. They thought they could bully the human race. Open a channel to the entire fleet, Arthur said. Open. This is Captain Arthur, he said. You all know the drill. They have the fancy toys. They have the numbers. But we have the spirit. Don't fly straight. Don't give them a target to lock onto. We are the wolves in the henhouse today. For Earth. For humanity. A cheer went up over the comms channel, a raw and guttural sound from 1,000 different throats. "Engage," Arthur whispered. The human fleet didn't fly in formation. They scattered like a shotgun blast. They accelerated hard, pushing their engines to the breaking point. In the distance, the massive railguns on the moon rotated. They fired silently, but the effect was devastating. Huge tungsten rods, accelerated to a fraction of the speed of light, slammed into the outer ring of the alien blockade. There were no explosions in space, just silent flashes of light as the shields of the alien ships flickered and died. The kinetic impact shattered the sleek vessels, sending debris flying in all directions. The perfect formation was broken. "We have their attention," Diana yelled. "They are launching interceptors." "Lock on the flagship with the warp missiles," Arthur ordered. "Let's see how they like a taste of their own medicine." The Aegis banked hard to the left, dodging a beam of green energy that sliced through the space where they had been a second before. The war had begun, and humanity was not fighting to survive. They were fighting to win. The mistake of the elders was waking the sleeping giant, and the giant was angry. The space around Earth was no longer silent. It was filled with the bright flashes of explosions and the twisting trails of engines. The alien fleet, once a perfect wall of silver, was now breaking apart. Commander Vance's railguns from the moon had done their job well. The heavy tungsten rods had smashed through the outer defenses like stones through a glass window. But the enemy was reacting now. They were not weak, they were just surprised. On the bridge of the Aegis, alarms screamed. The ship shook violently as a beam of green energy passed close to the hull. "Shields holding at 60%. Diana shouted over the noise. She was typing fast on her console, her face glowing in the light of the radar screens. "They are trying to target us, but our erratic movement is confusing their sensors." Arthur held onto the armrests of his chair as the ship spun to the right. "Keep moving," he ordered. "Don't give them a steady shot. Helmsman, take us into the debris field. Use the wreckage as cover." The Aegis dived toward a cloud of broken metal that used to be an alien cruiser. The human ship was not pretty. It was bulky, covered in thick armor plates, and moved with a heavy, jerky rhythm. But it was tough. Behind the Aegis, dozens of other human ships swarmed. They were smaller, faster fighters, piloted by men and women who had been training for this day for years. The alien commanders were confused. Their sensors showed the human ships moving in ways that made no sense. They turned sharply without slowing down. They flew dangerously close to each other. To the aliens, who believed in order and strict formations, the human attack looked like madness. But it was working. Diana's fighter squadron was right in the middle of the chaos. She flew a ship called the Valkyrie. It was a small, ugly beast of a machine, bristling with guns. She pushed the throttle forward, feeling the heavy G-forces push her into her seat. A human could take 6 gs of pressure without passing out. An alien pilot would pass out at 3. This was the human advantage. "Watch your left, 3. Diana yelled into the comms. A sleek alien interceptor tried to get behind her wingman. It moved smoothly, gliding through space like a fish in water. But Diana was already there. She pulled her stick back and kicked the rudder. Her ship did a violent roll and ended up directly behind the alien. "Got you," she whispered. She pressed the firing button. Her ship didn't have lasers, it had heavy machine guns that fired shells made of depleted uranium. The shells tore through the alien's energy shields. The shields flared blue, then shattered. The shells ripped into the ship's hull, turning the silver metal into Swiss cheese. The alien ship spun out of control and exploded into a silent fireball. "Good hit, Diana," Arthur's voice came through her headset. "But don't get cocky. The big ones are waking up." Diana looked at her radar. The massive dreadnoughts in the center of the alien formation were turning their huge guns toward the moon. They realized the railguns were the biggest threat. "Commander Vance," Diana said on the open channel. "They are targeting the base." "We see them," Vance's rough voice replied. "Let them come. We have a surprise waiting for them on the dark side. Keep the small ships busy, Lieutenant. Don't let them form a perimeter." "Copy that," Diana said. She banked hard and dove back into the fight. Inside the alien flagship, Highcaller was watching the tactical map with growing horror. The blue dots representing his ships were blinking out one by one. The red dots of the human ships were everywhere. "How is this possible?" Kaler demanded, his voice shaking slightly. "They have primitive technology. Their ships should be drifting in space." "Their ships are heavy, Elder," an alien tactical officer replied, sounding frightened. "And their pilots, they have no regard for safety. They are performing maneuvers that tear their own ships apart, but they are still hitting us. They are using the debris of our own destroyed ships to hide from our sensors." Kaler slammed his fist onto the console. "They are animals. Scatter them. Use the wide area beams. Do not worry about precision. Destroy anything that moves." The alien fleet changed tactics. They stopped trying to target individual ships. Instead, the large cruisers began to fire massive beams of energy that swept across space like giant brooms. It was a brutal, messy attack. On the bridge of the Aegis, the lights flickered. "Direct hit on the port side." A crewman shouted. "Hull breach in deck 4. Force fields are holding." "Report." Arthur yelled. "We are taking heavy damage, Captain," Diana said from her station. "The Aegis can't take a hit from one of those main beams. We need to break their formation." Arthur looked at the main screen. An alien dreadnought was moving forward, its guns glowing. It was heading straight for the Earth. "They are going for the planet," Arthur said. "They want to bombard the surface." "We have to stop them," Diana said. Arthur looked at the weapon readout. They had one special missile left. It was the warp drone Commander Vance had told them about. It was a crude weapon, a warp engine strapped to a bomb. It was unstable and dangerous. "We can't outfly that beam," Arthur said. "So we have to get closer. Helmsman, set a course for that dreadnought. Full speed. Ramming speed if we have to." "Captain," the helmsman asked, eyes wide. "Do it!" Arthur shouted. The Aegis turned and pointed its bow directly at the massive alien ship. The alien ship saw the human vessel coming. It fired its main beam. The Aegis rolled, the beam missing the bridge by meters but vaporizing the engine nacelles on the left wing. The ship groaned under the stress. "Steady," Arthur whispered. "Launch the warp missile." The missile shot out from the damaged Aegis. It flew erratically, tumbling through space. The aliens tried to shoot it down, but their tracking computers couldn't lock onto its chaotic movement. The missile reached the alien dreadnought. It didn't hit the hull. Instead, it activated its warp drive just 10 meters from the ship's shields. For a split second, space bent. A tiny black hole opened up right next to the alien ship. The gravity was immense. The alien dreadnought, which was miles long and made of the strongest metal, twisted like wet clay. The shields collapsed instantly. The hull crumpled. Then, the warp bubble collapsed, creating an explosion of pure energy. The dreadnought vanished in a blinding flash of white light. The shock wave hit the Aegis, spinning it wildly. "Report!" Arthur yelled, picking himself up from the floor. "Direct hit," Diana said, her voice filled with awe. "The dreadnought is gone, sir. Just dust." Arthur looked at the screen where the enemy ship had been. There was nothing left except expanding gas. "Send a message to the fleet," Arthur said, wiping blood from his forehead. "Tell them to press the attack. The enemy can be killed. They are not gods. They are just targets." The battle raged on, but the mood had changed. The alien ships were pulling back, trying to regroup. They were confused. Their logic told them that a smaller force should retreat. But the humans weren't retreating. They were getting closer, fighting with a ferocity the galaxy had never seen before. In the middle of the chaos, Diana's fighter squad zoomed past the burning wreckage. She saw an alien transport ship trying to flee. It was a civilian ship. "Should we pursue her?" Wingman asked. Diana looked at the ship. "No," she said. "Let it go. Let them go home and tell the others what happened here. Let them tell them that humanity does not surrender." She turned her fighter back toward the main fight. The Aegis was limping, but it was still in the fight. The moon base was still firing its rail guns. The humans were taking heavy losses. Ships were burning and lives were being lost. But the alien blockade was breaking. The fog of war had cleared. The aliens thought they knew how to fight. They thought they were the masters of the stars. But today, they learned that war is not about perfect formations or beautiful ships. War is about grit. It is about doing the unexpected. It is about the sheer refusal to die. Highcaller watched from his command ship, his face pale. He saw the humans swarming his fleet like angry bees. He realized his mistake. He had challenged a species that thrived on chaos. He had poked a hornet's nest, and now the hornets were eating his army alive. "Order the retreat," Kaler whispered, his voice barely audible. "Regroup at the edge of the system. We need to rethink." But it was too late to rethink. The humans had already tasted blood, and they were not going to stop until the sky was clear. The mistake of the elders was not just attacking Earth, it was underestimating what humans would do to protect their home. And now, the doom they feared was coming, not from a superweapon, but from the stubborn, violent spirit of humanity itself. The battle was not going the way Highcaller wanted. His beautiful silver ships were breaking apart. The human fighters were like angry insects, stinging the massive beasts to death. Kaler sat on his throne, his long fingers gripping the armrests until they turned white. He watched the main screen where the human fleet, damaged and smoking, continued to advance. They refused to retreat. It was illogical. It was maddening. "They are primitives," Kaler hissed, his voice echoing in the quiet command deck. "How can they refuse to yield?" "Elder," a tactical officer said, his voice shaking. "We have lost 40% of the blockade. The human weapon, the railgun, is tearing our hulls apart. And their warp missiles, they create gravity wells that our shields cannot predict. If we stay here, we will lose the entire fleet." Kaler stood up. His robes shimmered in the dim light. He looked at the holographic map of the Sol system. Earth was there, bright blue. He had come to bring order, but he had found only chaos. We did not bring the pacification fleet to lose to a band of savages, Kaler said coldly. We have rules of engagement that prevent total destruction. But for them, we must make an exception. Prepare the reality anchor. The room went silent. The crew members looked at each other with fear. The reality anchor was a weapon of ancient power. It was not meant to be used in combat. It was a tool of control. Elder, the officer dared to speak again. The reality anchor will freeze space-time in a radius of 10,000 kilometers. It will stop the movement of atoms. It will turn everything in that zone into a statue. Even our own ships nearby will be affected. Then move our ships back, Kaler ordered. We will pull the fleet to the edge of the system. Deploy the anchor. Let us see how the humans fight when time itself stops. On the bridge of the Aegis, Arthur was watching the radar. He saw the enemy movement. The alien ships were not fighting anymore, they were running away. But they were leaving something behind. Diana, Arthur called out. What are they doing? Why are they dropping that large sphere? Diana looked at her sensors, her eyes narrowing. It's a drone, Captain. But it's huge. It's emitting a strange energy signature. It's not a bomb. It's a wave generator. Arthur frowned. Report to Commander Vance. Something feels wrong. Just as Arthur spoke, the alien drone activated. It didn't explode. It hummed. A low sound vibrated through the hull of the Aegis, and then, suddenly, the ship stopped. Arthur tried to move his arm, but it felt incredibly heavy. He looked at the screen. The stars outside stopped twinkling. The debris floating in space hung perfectly still. The Aegis was frozen in place. The engines died. We are dead in the water, the helmsman said, panic rising in his voice. I can't move the controls. It's like the ship is embedded in concrete. Diana was typing furiously, but her fingers were moving in slow motion. It's a stasis field, Captain. They are manipulating gravity on a local scale. They are freezing us to make us easy targets. Arthur looked out the viewport. The alien fleet was safely far away, watching. Then, from the distance, bright beams of energy began to charge up. They were going to destroy the helpless human ships one by one. They are cheating, Arthur whispered. They can't beat us fairly, so they are using a godlike weapon. On the moon, Commander Vance saw the same thing. The reality anchor had enveloped the Earth and the human fleet. Nothing could move. The air on the lunar base felt thick and heavy. Report. Vance shouted, struggling to stand up under the increased gravity. It's the reality anchor, sir, a scientist yelled, holding a tablet. They have locked the space-time matrix in this sector. Our ships are sitting ducks. They are charging their main weapons to fire. Vance looked at the screen. He saw thousands of human lives frozen in those metal shells. He saw the Earth, hanging in the sky, silent and trapped. A normal person would give up. A normal person would say there was no way to fight a weapon that could freeze time. But Vance was not a normal person. He was a human general. And humans are very good at finding problems and breaking them. They think they have trapped us, Vance said, a grim smile forming on his face. But they forgot one thing about physics. Every action has a reaction. If they are sending a wave to freeze us, we can send a wave back to shatter them. He turned to the chief engineer. Activate the resonance disruptor. Sir, that device is on Mars. It's experimental. I know what it is. Vance roared. Fire it now. Aim for the frequency of the anchor. Let's shake this cage. On Mars, in a deep red desert, a massive machine hummed to life. It looked like a giant tuning fork made of black iron. It was a project humanity had built in secret, hoping to defend against earthquakes or solar flares. It was designed to send vibrations through the very fabric of space. The machine released a pulse. It was invisible. It traveled through the vacuum, moving instantly toward the Earth. It hit the sphere of the reality anchor. In space, the effect was instantaneous. The silence was broken by a sound like a giant cracking whip. The blue field around the anchor flickered. Inside the Aegis, Arthur felt the pressure release. The ship lurched forward as gravity returned to normal. Report. Arthur shouted, rubbing his arm which was sore from the pressure. Engine is back online. Diana yelled. But look at the anchor. The alien drone was shaking. The pulse from Mars had found the same frequency the drone was using. Instead of stopping the humans, the drone was now vibrating against itself. The metal casing began to glow red. They broke their own toy, Diana said, watching in amazement. The reality anchor did not just turn off. It overloaded. The energy it was holding back snapped back. The drone collapsed in on itself, creating a tiny, temporary black hole. The gravity was so strong that it sucked in the alien fighters that were nearby. Then, with a flash that blinded every sensor in the system, the drone exploded. The shock wave was massive. It was not fire, but pure gravitational force. It washed over the alien fleet. Ships that were too close were crumpled like paper balls. The mighty dreadnoughts at the back were spun out of control. They are vulnerable. Arthur screamed into the comms. All ships, attack. The shield is down. Make them pay. The human fleet, which had been frozen just moments ago, roared back to life. The engines flared. The guns reloaded. The anger of the human crews had been doubled by the attempt to freeze them. On the bridge of the Aegis, Arthur looked at the tactical map. The alien formation was gone. It was a mess of spinning ships and debris. And right in the middle of the mess was HFY's flagship. Target that ship, Arthur said, pointing a finger at the screen. The big one. That is their leader. We are boarding her, Diana asked, her eyes lit up with a fierce light. No, Arthur said. We are punching a hole in her front door. Get the shuttle ready. You are going, Diana asked, standing up. I have to, Arthur said. I need to look Kaler in the eye. I need to tell him that he lost. Then I'm coming with you, Diana said, grabbing her sidearm. Someone needs to watch your back. Arthur nodded. He knew he couldn't stop her. The Aegis flew through the chaos, dodging the falling debris of destroyed alien cruisers. It moved close to Kaler's flagship. The huge silver ship was damaged, its hull twisted from the shock wave, but it was still massive. Fire the forward guns. Arthur ordered. Breach their hull. The human ship unleashed a barrage of shells directly into the side of the alien vessel. The alien armor, which could withstand lasers, shattered under the kinetic impact of the heavy shells. A gaping hole was torn open. Inside, the air rushed out, carrying debris and alien soldiers with it. Shuttle away. Arthur yelled. Arthur, Diana, and a team of 10 Marines in heavy suits launched from the Aegis. They flew straight into the hole in the enemy ship. It was a dangerous ride. They had to navigate through twisted metal and fires burning in the oxygenless vacuum. They landed in a corridor that was once elegant and beautiful. Now it was a wreck. Gravity was failing, causing water and equipment to float in the air. Move! Arthur shouted. To the bridge. Secure the bridge. The Marines moved with precision. They checked corners, they covered each other. They encountered a group of alien guards. The aliens raised their energy weapons, but they were slow. They were confused by the shock wave. The humans did not hesitate. They fired their magnetic rifles. The aliens fell. They reached the bridge door. It was sealed. Blasting charges, Diana said. She placed a small explosive pack on the door hinges. Fire in the hole. The explosion blew the door inward. The smoke cleared, revealing the bridge of HFY. The alien leader stood there, surrounded by his officers. They looked tall and regal, but now they looked small. They were trapped. Arthur walked through the smoke, his weapon raised but pointed down. Diana covered him from behind. The alien guards on the bridge raised their weapons, but Kaler held up a hand. Wait, Kaler said. His voice was filled with disbelief. You boarded my ship, you came here into the heart of the fleet. Arthur walked up to the High Elder. He looked at the alien's pale, large eyes. Arthur was breathing hard, his armor was scratched. He had a cut on his forehead that was bleeding. He looked like a warrior who had been through hell. Kaler looked like a statue. You tried to freeze us, Arthur said. You tried to take away our time. Kaler trembled slightly. Who are you? What are you? You cannot defeat the laws of physics. You cannot defeat the math. Arthur smiled. It was a tired, dangerous smile. He pulled a small detonator from his belt. It was connected to the explosives in their shuttle. If they died, the ship would blow up. We are humans, Arthur said softly. We don't care about your math. We don't care about your laws. We only care about surviving. And you, High Kaler, you made a mistake. What mistake? Kaler asked, his voice barely a whisper. You thought we were soft, Arthur said. You thought we would surrender because you are stronger. But you don't understand. Humanity is like a virus. We adapt. We survive. We get stronger when we are attacked. You challenged us, and now you are going to have to kill every single one of us to stop us. And looking at your ship, I don't think you can. Arthur held the detonator tight. Call off your fleet. Or I blow us all to hell right here. Kaler looked at the bleeding human in front of him. For the first time in 1,000 years, the High Elder felt fear. He realized that the monsters were not the ones with the big guns. The monsters were the ones in his room. The monsters were the ones who would rather die than kneel. The silence on the bridge of the alien flagship was heavy, but it was a different kind of silence than before. It was not the silence of arrogance, it was the silence of fear. High Kaler looked at the small device in Arthur's hand. He looked at the blood running down Arthur's face. He looked at the fierce eyes of Diana, who was aiming her rifle directly at his chest. For millions of years, the elders had controlled the galaxy. No one had dared to point a weapon at an elder. No one had dared to threaten them on their own ship. But here was a human, a primitive from a distant world, holding the life of the Supreme Commander in his hand. You are insane, Kaler whispered. His voice was no longer booming. It was thin and shaky. If you trigger that device, you die too. You and your crew. Arthur did not blink. He stood tall, his hand steady on the detonator. We are humans, Kaler. We die all the time. We die of disease. We die of old age. Sometimes we die in wars. But we do not die on our knees. If I have to die to make sure you leave my planet alone, then I will press this button right now. I promise you that. Diana took a step forward. Call off the fleet, she demanded. Order your ships to leave the Sol system. Kaler looked around his bridge. His officers were trembling. They were looking at him with pleading eyes. They did not want to die. They had thought this was a simple mission to pacify a primitive world. They did not know that the primitives were mad. The High Elder slumped his shoulders. The arrogance drained out of him. He realized that his logic had failed. He had calculated the ships and the guns, but he had not calculated the spirit. He slowly raised his hand and touched a panel on his armrest. Command channel open, the ship's computer said. All ships, Kaler said, his voice sounding like an old man's. Cease fire. Disengage. We are leaving. Set a course for the galactic concordance. Immediately. A cheer went up in the earpieces of the human marines, but on the bridge, no one moved. Arthur watched Kaler closely. And us? Arthur asked. What happens to the prisoners? Kaler looked away. You are free to go. Take your shuttle and leave my ship. Arthur lowered the detonator but kept his finger on the button. Diana, let us go. We don't belong in this tin can anyway. Arthur and Diana backed away slowly toward the door. They did not turn their backs on the aliens until the blast door shut between them. Once in the corridor, they ran. They ran back to their shuttle, their hearts pounding in their chests. They launched away from the damaged flagship and flew back to the ISS Aegis. From the bridge of the human ship, Arthur watched the alien fleet. One by one, the silver ships turned. They left their debris behind. They left their dead behind. They accelerated away from Earth, disappearing into the dark void of space. It is over, Diana said softly. She was leaning against the console, exhausted. They are gone. Not gone, Arthur said, looking at the stars where the enemy had vanished. Just running away. Days passed. The dust settled, literally. The wreckage of the battle was cleaned up by human salvage teams. They learned from the alien technology, but they did not copy it. They improved their own.